Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed that a bike or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launching. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host, Rodney, the Viking Shortridge. I want to give a big old shout out to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us to get the word out about all of our guests. If anyone would like to speak to Black Diamond Paranormal Society, BDPS, to discuss your paranormal questions or issues, go to our website at blackdiamondps.org or email blackdiamondps@yahoo.com. As always, our services are free.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by calling 516-387-1922, or you can go to the Vibe Radio Network website at blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. For deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you have a chance, check out their talk show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal.
Have your devices just randomly stopped working? Are you having IT trouble? Not to worry, Mead's PC Repair Shop can help. We also offer IT support too, including website hosting. We are now also offering full event management services. To find out more, contact our friendly customer service team who will gladly help in any situation. Just call 276-880-8900, or if you prefer, you can stop by our shop at 1089 St. Clair Street, Oakwood, Virginia, 24631 by appointment only, or by visiting the website at meadspcshop.com for more information. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope everybody's enjoying this supposedly fall weather that we're having. I mean, here's like 84, 85 degrees. So maybe we'll get a little cool down and actually be more of fall. Because I'll tell you, it has been dry around here. It is dry. Ain't got no grass no more. But enough of me complaining, cussing, bitching, and all that good stuff. We're going to have a great guest on tonight, and she may have to leave a little early. That's no problem. We can work it out. Tonight, our special guest is one of the beautiful ladies of the paranormal world. She is the creator and star of the hit web series Ghost Biker Explorations, Miranda Young. And I see that she's already here. Let's go ahead and click her over. Hello, Miranda. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you got some rain and cool weather your way. Hello? Miranda? Well, I thought she was going to be on. Hang on a second, everybody. Let me find out where she at. She might not can't hear me. Let's see here. Sorry about this. 25, 25. Yeah, let me try it again. Miranda, can you hear me? Hello? You're on the air. She's been having a little bit of problems, so let's see here. Let me send her a quick message. Tell her, you're on the air. Can you hear me? Can you hear me out there? She's saying she's there, but I can't hear her. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, at least she sent a message she can hear me, but I can't hear her. Huh. Well, How about hang it up and call them back in, see if that works. We've had this problem before. Yep, she says she's doing it right now. Let's see if this works. You guys, you all know I have trouble with blog talk sometimes. I don't get it. Sometimes I'll go a month and I have a bit of problem. I think it's when I take a week off. I take a week off and then everything just falls apart. But she says she can. Okay, let's try this again.
Hey, Robbie, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Woohoo! Yeah, I was sitting there. I could hear you talking, and I was just talking away, but apparently it wasn't picking me up.
It happens sometimes. It's like I said, every time I take a week off, I come back and Blog Talk don't want to work for me, and I'm like, shit.
Hey, it's going to be a good show. Whenever you have technical difficulties, it's going to be a good show.
It's going to be, well, I got you on, so I know it's going to be a great show. I've had people today at a meeting in town over where I'm going to be doing some Halloween stuff for them, and the chief of police came up to me. He said, Rob, what's that number I got to call into? He's like, I watched her show. I got to hear her.
Oh, that is awesome. I appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity to tell folks about the show and take some time and chat with you. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's an honor to have you on. You from Tennessee, so you're just a neighbor to us, and I love to get people on that's close by and tell their expertise and experiences. It's always fascinating. I know a lot of people's like, well, why don't you have Eddie Murphy on? I'm like, well, if I could get him on, I would, but you can't. Eddie Murphy don't care about me.
Well, we're going to have a great time. And, we heard your intro there, and I appreciate all the kind things that you've said about us. And we actually had quite a bit of rain here this evening. It was nice and hot and sunny, and then came a monsoon, and then it got real hot again. So right after that. But anyways, I hope you're doing well yourself.
Well, we're doing good. Like I said, it's been really hot and dry here for, I guess, a month. We've had a couple of little showers, but nothing. I mean, our yards are dead. And I haven't seen it like this, gosh, ever since I was a kid. But,
oh, wow. Well, at least it's kind of starting to feel a little bit fall-like, and that's exciting because I'm starting to really get in that fall spirit and fall mood with, the release of the new season coming up, and Halloween. That's my favorite holiday, and it's it'll be nice if the temperature would drop a little bit here, and the leaves would start changing, and we could all just get in the creepy Halloween mood.
Yeah, I agree. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the paranormal world before your show and everything like that? What led you down this road?
Absolutely. Well, I've always been interested in the paranormal for as long as I can remember, and I too grew up in the Appalachian Mountains and spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who was, she was in her 90s, and I spent a lot of time sitting on her porch, hearing her tell stories about growing up in the mountains and a lot of folklore and haints, in the mountains. And so I've always been interested in it. And back in 2013, I was approached at a place that I was working by a guy who had a team, and he wanted me. He saw that my background was in photography, and so he approached me, wanting me to look at some pictures, wanted me to kind of go in and see, if I could maybe help debunk some of them. There were some pictures that they had taken at a recent investigation, and then also some pictures that some folks had sent in. So I started doing that for him. Over the course of a couple weeks, I looked at a bunch of pictures, and in order to pay me back, he invited me on an investigation. And it was an investigation of a local Mexican restaurant, and it was rumored to have paranormal activity there. It was on in a marina, and there had been a boating accident. There was also a security guard who had a heart attack and was said to roam outside. And then there was also a local lady who had passed away, and she had her own little seat at the bar. And so went on that investigation and had a lot of luck with that. Got some great Class A EVPs, was touched for the first time, and really just had some very cool activities. That was my first time ever actually going and investigating. And so I was invited on another investigation, which was a private school, and had, a lot of luck on that one as well. And so they ended up voting me in to join the team. And so I investigated with the team up until last fall when Ghost Biker came out. But I was doing their social media, their marketing, as well as their photo analyst. And so I was doing all that, and once I had decided to start Ghost Biker, I ended up leaving the team because I didn't feel that it was really fair, I couldn't devote 100% of my time to the team as well as to what I was doing with Ghost Biker. And so that kind of brings us up to where we are today.
Wow. Now, do you do your own, when you do your investigation, do you have a team with you, or you just do it solo, and when you go over evidence, you just do it solo?
Well, I was doing a lot on the side. I'll tell you how I'll tell you a little bit about Ghost Biker explorations and kind of how that got started. I've always been a avid motorcycle rider, and every time I wasn't out with the team, we would investigate we would try to go out once a month, if not once every other month. But I was doing a lot on my own, and excuse me, I was doing a lot on my own when I wasn't with the team. I would go out on my motorcycle exploring different historical or abandoned locations and taking a lot of photographs and posting them on my social media. And it gained a lot of interest, the photos did, and people started asking, what's the story behind some of these interesting locations? And so I was talking to my friend Josh, who is also my videographer and co-producer, and we were kind of, joking around and talking, and he was like, you really ought to consider documenting these investigations and these locations that you're going to. So we kind of kicked back and forth the idea, since I was investigating on my own anyways, as far as like creating a web series of these investigations. I wanted to get at least 5 of them together and kind of release them as a season rather than just releasing a random episode here and there. And I wanted to make them I wanted to keep them to where they were long enough to cover everything that we wanted to cover, but still short enough to where people wouldn't get annoyed or be intimidated to watch them because maybe they were too long and they didn't have the time. So I settled on around 20 to 30 minutes because the average person's attention span is 20 minutes. And so I thought, I'll keep the episode short enough to where, like, if you're sitting at work or if you want to watch it during your lunch break, you can watch it. And I wanted to make the episodes because the places that I travel to are very historical and have an interesting story behind them. I wanted to make the episodes 3 parts. One would be traveling to these different cities and telling the story and the history of the location, as well as telling the story as to why we're there, telling the history part. And then the other part would be the investigation. And my goal was to have an interesting enough story to where if I didn't have anything happen during the investigation, that the history would still carry the episode. And it would still be interesting for people to watch. And so my camera guy, he kind of set it up to where originally he was just going to film the parts that I couldn't film, like some shots of me on the motorcycle, just to kind of create an intro. And he was going to help me with the first episode, just kind of following me around filming. And while we were there, things started happening. And he's not a paranormal investigator. He's a true videographer. And so, being an investigator, how whenever, the dowsing rods move or you catch a voice or whatever, it's kind of hard to contain that excitement when it happens. And so I remember, something had happened. I think the rods had moved and was responding to the questions I was asking. And, of course, he kind of gasped, because I guess out of nervousness. And we were going to cut that out, but then as we were sitting there editing, it's like, this is a real reaction. This is really cool. And so he decided he was going to stay with me through the first season and help me film. And so we really changed scope, where we have it set up to where I can, a lot of the time I will go by myself, but for the episodes, he's been traveling with me, and it really kind of helps, or it adds a really unique feature to the episode, because he creates a character that a lot of the people who watch my show, they're not necessarily paranormal investigators. And so he creates a character that is easily identifiable with people, and then he also helps to really put them into the middle of the investigation, which is very cool. So to answer your question, it is just myself. Sometimes this current season, I've actually done some collaborations with some different teams, and but for the most part, it's just myself and my co-producer and camera guy, Josh.
Okay. Well, what do you look for in a location, to film and do a investigation for your show?
I do a lot of research through some of these old books about just hauntings in these specific areas. I look for, I've investigated a lot of commercial areas, but I look for places that have a really cool history or a really interesting story. Sometimes I find them in books. Sometimes people will send me messages and say, hey, you really ought to check this place out. And so then I start researching it further and will, see if it's a place that's got an interesting enough story to tell. But I often tell people, I give them the challenge of taking a map, putting it in front of them, closing their eyes and pointing their finger to anywhere on that map. And it can be, a little small, obscure town, but I can guarantee that just about anywhere on that map has got a story. They may even have a couple stories. Some of them are nationally known, and then others are just small legends that are local to that area. And so those are the ones I like to tell, because I can kind of get the word out about the area, giving some cool facts about that and talking about places that people may not have ever heard of, and then telling the stories that people, some of them are ones people local to the area have heard all their lives, and others are ones that not very many people know. So I look for something that is that's interesting, that I can go in and either tell that story and possibly try to either debunk or make either debunk it or see if it's actual paranormal activity.
Cool. For all bikers out there, can you tell them what kind of bike you ride cross country and stuff to do these investigations?
Absolutely. Yeah, I ride a Harley 883 iron. So I have a Sportster.
Cool. Well,
yeah, it's
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I keep it pretty stripped down. So most of the time I'm traveling really light when I'm investigating, because I just have I have the little swing arm bag on it as well as the fork bag, and then I carry it's like a little military go bag that I will have my equipment in, and so I keep that pretty light. But the bike is it's a throwback to a late 60s, 68, 69 model.
Well, where you've been traveling on your bike, have you had any personal experiences on the highways or any of these old back roads?
Well, yeah, actually. I was traveling up in northeast Tennessee, right around, it was about an hour north of Knoxville. in a little area known as Red Ash, and it's up an hour north of Knoxville, up probably maybe 20 miles from the Kentucky border. And I was riding back. I'd been riding the Devil's Triangle, and I was riding back with a friend, and we decided we were going to go back through Red Ash, which that area is rumored to have a lot of paranormal activity, and then just a lot of strange activity itself. But it's backwoods road. It's one of the darkest roads I think I'd ever been on. No street lights, very few homes. But we were riding back through there, and all of a sudden my throttle started sticking, and I found that I couldn't rev when I would rev my engine or roll the throttle, it would stick and put me in the go position, and so I was constantly having to feather my clutch and like manually pull the throttle forward, and I really didn't want to stop because it was one of those roads where you just kind of felt like if you stopped or if you didn't keep going, that all of a sudden in the movies when the car just all of a sudden shows up behind you, or the car lights pop on. That was how it felt, and I knew if that was to happen, my friend that was riding with me, that she was probably going to take off and leave me. But I did kind of stop one time to try to adjust the cable, but I pretty much had to work my clutch the whole time that I was going through there. Now, obviously, probably not paranormal, but very strange because once I got back on the highway, the throttle was not sticking like it was. And it started right there. I hit a bump going over a railroad track, and it stuck. And it stuck. And it's probably, I'm trying to think how long that stretch of road is. I think it's probably maybe a 15-mile stretch. And when you're on a back road with no lights and tons of twists and turns and everything, it's one of the places you want to kind of move through pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, we got a place around here. I don't know if you've heard of it. A lot of bikers come through. It's called Back of the Dragon. And
is it part of the Tail of the Dragon?
I think so. That runs out of North Carolina.
Yes.
Yep.
That is a fun area to ride.
Yeah, you ever get a chance, come by up through here, and I can take. I don't ride a bike. I'm not built for that. I'll follow you in the van or something, but
that's
we have
a fun road to ride, even in a. That's a fun road to even ride in a car. I have ridden through there twice, and I'm always looking for an excuse to go back. So absolutely, I will definitely have to. I'll let you know when I come back through that way.
Well, heck, I can take you to places that we've investigated that you'd like. I bet you'd have a good time, especially this old cemetery up in Pocahontas, old mining town.
Yeah? Is the town still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, we investigated that town. I mean, it took about 6 years, a little bit they let us do, because some people were all yay, and then some people were like, no, and it was a constant battle, but we got through it.
Well, that usually seems to be how they are in a lot of places. You find a really cool place, and you've just kind of got to work through it. Sometimes it's building the people's confidence for them to say, hey, yeah, we're going to let you in. And then sometimes you got to go through a lot of no's before, something changes their mind, or before they're ready to actually open it up and let you come in. So that's really cool. You guys were able to get in there.
Yeah, it was. We were there for about 6 or 7 years, and now I'm moving into, another town down below us. They're about 12 miles away. They're talking about they want us to investigate their town. So I don't know how I got into doing towns. But I want to do it. It's fun.
It is. Towns are great. I did. I'm actually doing a speaking event on October 26th in the little town of Hickory, North Carolina. I did a collaboration investigation with Soul Sisters Paranormal, Dr. Christy Sumner. She and I went and we investigated Henry River Mill Village, and so that's probably the largest town that, or the largest, most large-scale area that I've investigated as I've been doing solo. I think at one time they had 30-something houses there. I don't remember the exact number they have now, but I know there's at least, I think, 12 or 15 of the original structures, as well as the general store still standing. So those towns are a lot of fun. You get to be creative as far as, because there's so many opportunities for hauntings.
Oh yeah, and I was just amazed how much that a small town, how many hauntings that they do have.
Exactly.
It just amazed me because I figured okay, they got a few. They talked about they've seen this or heard that, but then once you actually get in there and you start going building to building or cemetery to bridge or whatever, you're like, oh my God, your place is haunted, people, the whole damn town. Let me just put it out there.
Exactly, and I mean, you can do, that's what's really cool about it, is you could spend weeks just on one house and then go over, and then you've got the cemetery, or you've got, something, a bridge even, where something had happened, maybe there were a lot of car accidents there. And that was the case there at Henry River Mill, is they had the village, but then they also had this bridge where there had been several accidents, and then another guy, I think, would take people under the bridge. So there's just, all kinds of things that can happen in one little town. I mean, you could spend years investigating just the one little town and then move on. And that's what, what I like to cover with my show is the fact that, everybody knows of, Waverly Hills and Las Furnace and, Tombstone, all these big locations. But it's the small ones that they might be a small town, but they've got a really big history.
Yeah, and I've noticed around here in these coal towns, they've got all kinds of great history and a lot of, sadly, a lot of tragedies that help develop the town and the hauntings also. Like I was talking about Pocahontas, they have an exhibition mine. I mean, you can actually walk through it. It's big enough you could drive a truck through it. And
wow.
We investigated it, and it's just the sadness. It was like 116 men and kids got killed there, and then a big massive explosion in the 1800s. And I tell you, when you're investigating it, you get back there where the explosion happened. You do see. I didn't really see anything. It's just that heavy feeling of sadness.
I was going to say, I bet the feelings are just kind of off the chain there.
Oh yeah, I had one girl. She had to leave. I mean, she was bawling. I kept asking her if she okay, and she's like, I just feel like my family just died in there. And she's like, I had nobody die in there. But it tore me up. I was even standing there like, oh, get me out of here. Ooh, this is too much feeling. I don't like to feel people.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough whenever, I know those are, it's interesting because the feelings that people get are, yes, they're a personal experience, and they're kind of hard to verify sometimes because, you may not have equipment going off like the like they would if there was something kind of physical coming around. But when you can actually physically see a person going through the emotion and going through, you see the chill bumps come off of them, or you see them become angry or become distraught, that's really crazy, because a lot of the time, if they're truly getting these feelings, you can see that, and that's very hard, for someone to control. Whenever they just start crying for no reason, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's hard for anybody to try to fake that stuff, too. I mean, when somebody's faking it when it's real.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us the first time you seen a ghost or apparition, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I've not seen a whole lot of, I've not seen too many apparitions, but the first one that I actually saw, and probably one of the most incredible experiences that I've ever had, was at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. And I had, it's located in Petros, Tennessee, and I had investigated this location on 2 other occasions, and I ended up, I was with the team at the time, and the ladies that run the paranormal investigations there, they invited our team as well, or my previous team, as well as 3 other teams. And so we had all been investigating, and we decided we were going to do it on Easter weekend, which we didn't know if that would cause an increase in activity, but we thought that would be, interesting with the moon and just the holiday weekend and everything, to see if that would affect any activity. And so I had spent the night there on Friday night with myself and the 2 ladies who run the investigations there. And then on the second night, my team joined us, as well as those other teams. And so we had been up in the cafeteria, and, there's that place. If people aren't familiar with Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, it's the prison where James Earl Ray was housed, and it was the place that, they got the worst of the worst there. And so there's going to be a ton of activity, because there's just so many people there with so many different stories. But the area is also Native American land. And so we had been sitting up in the cafeteria, and we were playing some Native music. And we had just been doing a live. And, it's always interesting to me, because, the cameras come on. A lot of the time the activity goes quiet. And so we had just done a live, and everybody had turned their cameras off. There was 9 people in the room. We had our audio recorders going. And, of course, this apparition shows itself. All 9 of us actually saw it, which was pretty incredible. But just before we see the apparition, I catch on a recorder. And actually, myself and 2 other ladies caught this on our recorder. We catch this male voice say, "Watch this." And so it says, "Watch this." And right after it says it, you hear our reaction. But what we saw was, we had a flashlight sitting there. And, of course, the flashlight was casting, it had been turning the flashlight on and off. But the flashlight had turned on, and it was casting a glow in this big cafeteria. So there wasn't much light at all, other than this one little small flashlight. But the best way I can describe it is, there's this kind of swirling action, and you see a shadow cast through the flashlight of an actual head and shoulders, and this thing strolls across the room. It probably had shown itself for, this doesn't sound like very long, but you'll know what I'm talking about in paranormal time. It strolled across the room there was probably about 6 seconds that
Oh, wow.
it showed itself, which, like I said, doesn't sound like long, but is quite a while in paranormal time. And I can't even describe the feeling. It was very eerie because you knew for this thing to actually be able to manifest and cast its own shadow, it had to actually have quite a bit amount of power to be able to do that. And so we didn't actually hear that EVP until we were going back. I mean, we didn't audibly hear it until we were going back and reviewing our audio, and we were able to hear that, which just really added to the situation, to make it that much more of an incredible experience. I really feel like there were 2 investigators on the property that wasn't in the room at the time, who they were in a different cell block, so they didn't see it. But, I feel like for that many people to experience that and, if there had been a camera going, I don't think it would have happened.
Wow.
I think it was just one of those things that it knew, and I think it was meant for to not have any cameras on.
Now, do you think that these entities or spirits or apparitions can see the IR or cameras being pointed at them?
I think some may be able to. We've done different experiments when I've been places where I've, either been working with the flashlights or I've caught EVPs where I'll, ask, to flash the flashlight as many, like if I'll hold up 3 fingers and say, can you flash this many times? There's been times we've had that happen. I've, asked the question, can you see me? If you can see me, do this. So I think some can see, and I don't know if it is because, I believe that sometimes intense battery drain is caused by spirit activity. And I think that in some instances, maybe they're not necessarily seeing the IR, but maybe they're picking up on the extra energy, maybe. But that is a really good question. They may be able to see in that spectrum.
Yeah, I've often wondered that because, we've got, within the 11 years I've been doing it, we've got maybe 4 or 5 apparitions that, we can say, okay, we don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot of camera hours just to get, 5 or 6 good apparitions. And the audio,
that's rare, yeah.
It is rare. And for audio, it's hardly we go anywhere that, especially my name. I got a bad habit. I'll go in. I'll be like, hi, I'm Rodney Shortridge. So let's talk. Tell me about yourself. And, whether it be a child or woman or whatever, you'll hear hi, Rodney, or Rodney, and it freaks everybody out in my team. And I'm like, well, at least they're communicating. I don't know why y'all so freaked out about it. But have you ever run into anything like that where, your name's called or spoken to a lot?
I have. I've had that happen a few times. Not a whole lot, but a couple times. One in particular where that happened was at Hales Bar Dam in Guild, Tennessee. I was there. I've investigated the dam. I think I've investigated the dam 5 occasions. And the first time I was there, I had some that place has some very intense activity, and sometimes it can be a little negative towards women. At the time, the first time I went, I was the only female on the team. And, of course, now, investigating solo, it is what, they get what they get. But at the time, I was the only female there. and it was pretty aggressive toward me. So when I went back the second time, I continued along the same line of questioning, kind of picking up where we had left off, and trying to see if whoever it was that I was interacting with remembered me. And clearly, I mean, and I'm not even talking about using a spirit box or an obelisk or any type of aid, just my regular recorder. I caught a male's voice. Just as loud as can be. It said Miranda, and so that was actually probably the first time, and several other investigators that I work with from time to time have mentioned that they've had their name called in that location as well. And I mean, Miranda is not necessarily the most common name or the easiest name. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it's kind of the same way with Rodney. That's not a short name.
Yeah. Well, when we did our first investigation where I live, like up on the hill is a family cemetery, and my uncle had heard about things I'd seen and heard when I was a kid that I told my dad. And my dad passed away back in '92, and I didn't know my uncle was into this paranormal stuff. And when my grandmother died, he played me some EVPs, and I was like, he's like, "Do you hear stuff like this?" I said, "Yeah, all the time." And he explained it to me, and our first investigation was up here at my family cemetery, and I had recorders on every headstone, and my uncle had one. He kept it. He had it in his hand. Well, he asked my dad, could he call him Bodie, and Dad didn't like it, and he said no, and then he said Rodney. Well, my recorders didn't catch it, but my uncle's recorder did. Mm-hmm. Have you had anything like that happen where you had a place like maybe surrounded, but only one recorder picked it up, video recorder?
And that was actually what happened when that said my name. There was a guy who was he was investigating with me that night, and he did not pick that name Miranda up on his recorder. And I mean, it is loud and clear, and he didn't get it, and he was right with me. Every time I investigate, regardless of the size of the place, I always have a mobile recorder that I keep on me all the time. From the minute I get there, when I'm taking breaks, whatever, I never turn it off. I have that one, and then I always have at least 4 other static recorders. Depending on the size of the place, I'll leave, static recorders around. So I have had that on at least 2 occasions where one recorder has picked it up, and it's not even a distance thing, because myself and that guy, we were standing beside each other because we were in a very small, close quarter of the dam, and that's pretty incredible. It makes you wonder if that message is just kind of for that specific person that picks it up. It's interesting to me when that does that. I don't really have necessarily a theory as to why, because there doesn't really always seem to be any type of, for me, what I've experienced, there doesn't really seem to be a rhyme or reason as to why it would do that.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I've tried to figure it out, and I don't know, unless it's just the way I come in, the way I'm so open. When I do an investigation, I sit and talk about everything. I do. I tell my investigators, I'm like, hey, don't sit here and say you can't think of a question. You talk to them. Talk to them. I know people might think you're crazy, but these used to be living people. Talk to them. And when we just sit back and just talk, we get the best EVP.
That's me. Sitting back, talking, listening. I prefer to do that over. I have a very old school approach with and get most of, like I said, most of my EVPs just out of thin air on the recorders. Sometimes, I'll get stuff with the spirit box or everything, but for the most part, mine just kind of come from just the thin air. And so, it's, you just go in with respect and just talk and just listen. And, it doesn't always make for the most interesting videos, but I guarantee you most of the time you'll get some pretty good EVPs out of that.
You're absolutely right. That's why I try to tell a lot of these people that, come to me and ask me about how I got started and what to do. And I told them, 1, talk. 2, listen. Pretty much. Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's where I've got some of my best ones from.
Old school. You don't have to have $10,000 worth of equipment. You can have just a camera or I'm talking about regular, static camera. Voice recorder. That's it.
Yeah. For the most part, like I said, I travel light, and my favorite tools are my recorder, my camera, and my dowsing rods. And, the dowsing rods, they're simple. And, especially hunting here in the South and in the mountains, a lot of these spirits they're familiar with the rods. And so, and then if they're not familiar with them, it's easy to manipulate. Just move the rod, cross them for yes, keep them straight for no, point them to where you're standing, point them at a specific object we're asking for. So they're very easy to use, and the recorders will pick the voices up, and the cameras. For me, a camera helps. I like to take pictures of every angle and every room. If I'm doing a house, I want to take every room. If I'm doing a cemetery, I like to take pictures, before I really start investigating. And a lot of that is just so that when I go back and, look at pictures that I've taken of a night or taken in the dark, it helps me to really know the lay of the land. And, because when you're in the heat of the moment and you're investigating, it's hard to remember, if there was something in that corner or not. And it just kind of gives, a map, if you will, of where you're at, to help when you're going back and looking at pictures. So, a camera, a recorder, and the dowsing rods are my favorite things to have. And that's what I would recommend to anybody that was looking to get started. I have a ton of equipment, and I'll use different pieces on different places, especially when I'm filming these episodes, because, you got to keep it interesting and try different things. Different tools are going to work better at different locations. But, for the most part, my old standbys are those 3 items. And, they're very reliable, very easy to use, and not expensive.
That's true. Have you noticed during your investigation that you have more things happening, more evidence, places that's near water and limestone than places that aren't near either?
I do notice that. I feel like the geological features do play a part in it a lot, especially if there's some type of, underground stream or water. Definitely seems to enhance the experience, as well as the different features. And that's one of the things too, that if I'm doing a residential location, I try to find as much information on the geographic region and the geological features, if it's available. Usually you can find some information on that. I try to look that up as well, because that usually seems to be a pretty good identifier of activity.
Well, I'm sitting here. We're almost out of time. I'll ask you one more question, and then we'll work out something if you want to, and have you come back on at a later date that you're not so busy.
Sure.
Well, what's your opinion about people with psychic abilities? Have you ever worked with anyone on a case that claims to have these abilities, and if so, did they help, or did it not really affect the case?
I did one occasion. I typically don't have anyone with me, but I have worked. I'll take that back. I've worked on 2 occasions where there was 2 different individuals that had spiritual gifts. They were one of them was clairaudient, and the other was more clairvoyant. And it was one of those things where I didn't necessarily have them with me because they did have gifts. We just happened to be investigating together, and they did have those abilities. And it actually led to a couple of very cool experiences, because especially the lady who was clairaudient, we experienced some interesting things that she was able to pick up on more detail because of her ability. So I'm definitely open to it as far as folks who are sensitive or empaths or have different abilities. It's something that I think if they are truly gifted, I think that it can bring kind of a different level to the investigation. I've never taken just gone and taken a psychic and used them just straight for that ability. But like I said, I have gone with people who are gifted, and they kind of used it to enhance. They were the 2 that I was investigating with. They also had a pretty old school mentality and investigation style, and they actually, were they didn't rely on their gifts, just for the investigation, but every now and then stuff would come through, and it led to some interesting experiences.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Do you have anyone on your team?
Well, I've had a few on my team. Well, not really. Well, yeah, I've tried them out, and they. I really have a hard time.
No, I understand. I understand it.
I'm more scientific with my approach. Granted, I have people in the group that are mixed with everything. Religion, whether it be Christianity or Wiccan, and I love that. I love being so diverse. But within 11 years that I've had people that say that they're psychic or empath or anything like that, I say it's more like a 10%, 5-10%. They've got it right, and then the rest of that. So it's really hard for me to really gauge it, to use it. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense, because I'm the same way with I'm a skeptical believer. Is my best way of describing myself. I've seen and experienced a lot of things, so I'm definitely a believer. But when somebody calls me to come into their home, especially if it's a residential case, or if someone, or if I'm going to check something out, it's like we talked about a little bit earlier, that a lot of the time you can explain a lot of things. You can take a lot of video, take a lot of pictures. You can take 100 pictures, and 3 or 4 might have something, and I'm not even talking about paranormal, they might have something unexplainable in them, if you're lucky, And so I approach, residentials and different places with that mindset of, okay, I'm going to listen to what's going on. I'm not going to doubt you, but I'm going to look at it from a scientific point of view. I get feelings on things from time to time, but to me that's just a personal experience that, unless you have your tools and stuff are picking up on it, it's hard to validate, all of that. So, but I go in looking at different things, looking at, geological features. When was the home built? What's the wiring like? Is it drafty? I start looking at these different things with, is there a way to explain this? And so I've found from my experience, not, this is just speaking from my experience, a lot of the people that are very open and tout that they're a psychic, they may not be. It's almost like the ones that are, and this isn't always the case, but it's almost like at times the people who have the gift are not always as vocal about it. They're more, you don't know it until you get in a situation and they kind of show it versus telling it. And so that's been my experience with it. I don't doubt anybody and I don't dispute, but I don't go in just thinking because someone says they're an empath or they're sensitive that they necessarily are. I'm one of those people, I have to really kind of see it to believe it. And sometimes the squeaky wheel, is not always the, one that's, they're talking more about it than they're showing it.
Exactly. I agree 100% with that. And that's the reason why a lot of people get mad at me. They're like, Rod, you're not giving them a chance. I'm like, I gave them a chance. Sorry. I cannot base an investigation off this. And I'll tell you something else that aggravates me is, I don't know if you have this problem with clients. I'm like you. I'm a skeptical believer. And when I sit there and I listen to everything that they tell me, I can 9 times out of 10 get up from the table, walk over and shut a window and say, well, there's the draft problem, figure that out. I can go down in the basement or whatever and figure out that the water tank is, the pipe or something is jarring or something. And when I show them these things, where you got one, like this one lady, she kept talking about scratching at her attic. Well, we put a camera up there and she had rats and bats. I said, you don't need us, you need a terminator. But when you show them this, they get mad.
They do.
I mean,
some do.
I've had a lot, and it's caused me to actually just, I've had some health issues this year, but I mean, I've got to the point, I've even told people in my group, I said, I'm so close to hanging it up, and they're like, no, but I just get tired of the bullshit.
Yeah, well, I think some people really want to have a haunting, and so they either build it up and don't want to accept the fact, or maybe it's either they really want it to be something, or they don't want to accept the fact that maybe they were wrong either. I've had both of those happen. It's but the best you can do as an investigator is to be honest about that. What you think it is. When I go into somewhere, whether it be a residence or a commercial location, or a business or what have you, very rarely do I ever classify anything as paranormal. My job the way I look at it, my job is not to try to convince people of this. It's more so to document something that I would classify as unexplainable, and then let them decide how they want to believe or what they want to accept. And so when I'm classifying something, I will either classify it as maybe active or restless or non-active or unexplained. But I'll never really go, for myself, I'll never go so far as to say paranormal because, one, I mean, somebody might take what I have, if I can't explain it, they may be able to explain it because they've got more knowledge on the issue than I do. But, you know, it's all I can do to protect my integrity as an investigator, which I think is the most important part of it, is to my integrity and reputation is to go in, and if I can explain it, then, you know, at least explain the pieces of it, you know, that and just kind of, you know, it's up to the client to decide if they want to accept it or not. But it always is disheartening and actually upsetting whenever they get mad and don't want to accept it.
Right. Yeah.
Fortunately, I've not had that much of an experience with that. Do what?
Well, you're lucky. You're very lucky. I've read into it a lot, and it does. You know, when I do exactly what you say, because I am big about the integrity of my integrity, the integrity of the team, and when I lay out, okay, this is what we got. And I can explain this, what you said was going on. I can explain all this away. One, they get mad. Or two, we didn't get anything. Well, you weren't here long enough. We were here for 8 hours. I'm sorry. We can come back. And, you know, you go back and still nothing. And they get mad. And it's just, I don't know if it's my area or the people in this area. They, you know, I've never classed any place haunted. I just said that there was some serious activity going on, or it was nothing or mild. But yeah, I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
No. It's, I mean, it's like, I mean, that's a legit issue that people, when they do, and I know some investigators that won't do residential for that purpose. You know, and that's clearly, you know, up to the investigator what they want to do. But I've like I said, fortunately for me, I haven't experienced anyone, at least they've not gotten, you know, visibly upset with me. I've had them where they've just not responded when I've told them what I thought. But or they've just said, okay, you know, and went on. And it may be one of those things where they've told people that they think they have a haunting, and now that they've had someone come in, they don't want to feel like they don't want to tell people, you know, that, oh, well, it was something other than that. You know, it's kind of hard to say, but I know it definitely is a problem that some investigators have definitely faced. And that's tough.
Oh yeah.
But there's nothing worse than an investigator just kind of placating somebody and telling them that they think, you know, if they firmly believe it's not haunted and they have evidence of that, you know, I think it's wrong if they lead the person on just to placate them and make them feel like, you know, just to kind of lead them on. I don't think that's right either.
Oh, I agree. No, you're right. Well, I hated I kept you over a little bit, but like I said, I'll try to get you on again sometime here soon, if you don't mind. And just go ahead and tell everybody, you know, I guess the plans for the rest of 2019, and I guess, you know, you can talk about your second season getting ready to start. and how people can get in touch with you if they want to talk to you or got any thoughts, concerns, or ideas.
Absolutely, yeah, and like I said, thank you for having me on, and yeah, we've got big things going on right now. So the season 2 is about to drop. First off, I would like to encourage everybody to go back and check. If you've not seen this show, check out season 1. There are 5 episodes as well as a couple lives that I have on my site. It's quick and easy to catch up because, again, the episodes are anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and you're going to want to catch up on that before season 2 drops. Season 2 is going to drop on October 1st, and there will be an episode that will release every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch these episodes, you can watch these episodes on my YouTube channel, which is under Ghost Biker Explorations. You can watch them on my Facebook channel, or Facebook page, which is where I'm the most active, and that's also under Ghost Biker Explorations. I like the Facebook page because I'm able to actually, I like to interact with people, and so I'm very active on there. And you can also watch them on my website, which is www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. You can follow me on Instagram under Runaway Vixen, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Ghost Biker Explorations. Each episode, like I said, will drop at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on all of those channels, and they will run through the month of October. We are actually, for folks who are close by in the Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky area, this Saturday, so day after tomorrow, which, you know, all of my investigator friends know it's National Ghost Hunting Day. We're actually doing a special event. White Lightning Harley Davidson out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, is hosting an event for me at the dealership this Saturday from 11 to 3. And we are actually doing a Season 2 early release party. That episode that's going to release on this Tuesday, we're actually going to release it early to the folks at the party. We're going to have a live band there that's going to play from 11 to 12:45. At 1 p.m., we're going to go in and we're going to show the episode. People will get to see that. And then after the episode drops, we're going to have a live Q&A session with myself and Josh Nyman, my co-producer, where we'll answer any questions about the episode or about the season or even just investigating in general. And I'm going to give away some Ghost Biker Exploration official merchandise. I've got T-shirts, hats, as well as I'm an artist and I draw the different locations that I go to. And so I've got those are also on my website that people can see. But I'm going to be giving some of those away as well. So there's going to be a lot of bikers there, and I often, I want to make sure to tell people, even though it's at the Harley dealership, all bikes are welcome. So if you ride a Honda, a Kawasaki, whatever, bring that bike. If you are not a biker, that's all right. The event is free, and I didn't say this, but I need to say there's going to be free food there. Paranormal investigators, history buffs, we're encouraging everybody to come out, bring your cards for your team, and we're going to use this as a big networking event. So it's going to be a big badass party this Saturday at the Harley Davidson, and going to drop that. And then I've got a couple other appearances throughout the month of October. Oneida, Tennessee Zombie Fest, which is a huge event. I think they usually have 4,000 to 5,000 people that come for that. That's on October 12th. It goes to benefit suicide prevention and awareness, which is a cause that's near and dear to me. and then on October 26th, I'll be in Hickory, North Carolina, speaking about the investigation that I did at Henry River Mill Village with Dr. Sumner from Soul Sisters Paranormal. So we've got a lot of really cool events and a lot of fun things coming up with the release of the season. And this season is going to be longer, a little bit longer episodes and some very cool locations.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to watch.
Well, thank you. And like I said, thank you for letting me tell people about it. And I hope that some of the people who are listening will catch up and come and subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page and interact with me. Because like I said, I'm very active on my Facebook channel and love just, talking and interacting with everybody. I love hearing the stories, because people will send in stories or tell me about cool locations or, heck, even tell me about cool rides, interesting places to go ride. I absolutely love that, so I encourage people to go on and do that.
Well, if you have the time, November 2nd, I'll be my group is hosting the Phantom Fest, and we try and raise food for a local pantry, Elk Garden Methodist Church, and we got speakers coming from all over the country. Which I didn't get a chance to ask you to come up because I had the people I did ask all said yes before I could even get to any local people. I was like, what? Wow. But
it's November 2nd?
Yeah, November 2nd. It's at Lebanon, Virginia, at the Russell County Center. I can send you the information if you just want to ride up and say hi.
Yeah. Yeah, send me the information on that, if you would.
I don't mind. I'll be happy to send it to you. And like I say, come up, say hi to all the other paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot, all the other crazy people that are running around here.
I love it. Like I said, I love meeting everyone and being able to go out and interact and just let people know what we're doing and then see what other people are doing. That's always, I love, I feel like we can all learn from each other and, just seeing how different people do different investigations and everything is just always super cool.
Oh, it is. I agree with you. Yeah, you can always learn from somebody.
Absolutely.
Well, Miranda, like I said, it's been an honor to have you on. We'll work out something to get you on later when we talk more. But I know you got a busy weekend and things going on at your home. So, like I said, thank you so much. I hope everything goes well and you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Rodney. I hope you do the same. And again, it was an honor coming on, and I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. Like I said, we'll work something out, get you back, maybe even get you up here for November 2nd. Have a big surprise for everybody.
Sounds good. As of right now, I don't have anything on that date, so get me that information, and we'll see about setting that up.
Okay, sounds good. Well, like I said, you have a good night. Thanks for calling in, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You do the same.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, everybody, I want to thank Miranda Young for coming on the show. Great young lady. It's great to talk to people that, local people. I love talking to local people around here. She's a Tennessee girl. Love Tennessee. Like I said, they're our neighbors, good people. She's doing a great job. I can't wait to see her new season. Like I said, we'll work things out to get her back on as soon as we can. But next Thursday night, October 3rd, her special guest will be author, R.H. theorist, UFOlogist, paranormalist. I hope I said that right. And founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization. She's also on UFO Hunters of America, Inc. Her name is Melissa Kennedy. So excited to get to talk about some UFOs, people. So everyone have a great weekend. Be safe. Be good. Be careful. Nothing but love, baby. Nothing but love. Let's see if I can find this. You all know I always have a hard time finding this button. That's it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone that took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to all the first responders and our men and women in the armed services. Thank you for your service and the sacrifices that you and your families make every day to keep our great nation safe. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page to see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, or you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so go to YouTube, look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night. And love you all. Be careful out there.
I'm sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, Don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Phantom Fest 2019 is hosted and sponsored by Black Diamond Paranormal Society, Blog Talk Radio within the Chaos and Elk Garden School Community Ministry. The Phantom Fest is geared for the like-minded and enthusiasts and researchers in the fields of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptozoology, comics, horror films, gamers, cosplay, metaphysical, spiritual, artists, authors, ancient civilizations, tattoo artists, unexplained mysteries, superheroes, FX horror artists, steampunk, costume contest, sci-fi and so much more. The fest offers a unique and interesting outlook on the abnormal. The Phantom Fest will be held on November 2nd, 2019 at the Russell County Conference Center 139, Highland Drive, Lebanon, Virginia. Starting at 10 a.m. and going to 6 p.m. Tickets are $7 per person, ages 0 to 6 are free. Or tickets can be reduced to $5 per person with 2 non-perishable food items, to be donated to the Elk Garden School Community Ministry to help families during the Thanksgiving season. Any non-perishable food donations will be happily received. Also, we will have a free costume contest for all ages. Guest speakers, returning this year, Bill and Chris Reap of Reap Investigations, giant researcher Heather Arnold. New to this year's Phantom Fest guest speakers, Dave Spinks, Ron Whitehead, Jake Fife, Chad Zumwalt and Whitney Benson, Amy Green, Barry Gaunt, Cosplay Bridget Baker, CNC Paranormal Investigations, Dennis Estlock, G.O.R.Gis Girls Heather Taylor and Micah Taylor, Haunted MD Donald Molnar, Lucky Belcamino, Michelle Wagner, and Rebecca Smoot. Special appearances by Cosplay Bridget Baker, Martial Arts Christian Yaya Thompson and Token Nihilist Cosplay, Arthur Stump, Grace and Lehman, Raphael Bertiz and the Whiteville Ghostbusters. Find us on Facebook Phantom Fest, www.facebook.com/phantomfest. Our website, www.phantomfest.org. Our email, phantomfest1@yahoo.com. For more information, please contact Rodney Shortridge at 276-970-1456 or Josh Mead at 276-880-8900 extension 1259.